And being where you are on your journey now, do you sometimes happen to experience moments of forgetfulness
Yes, heaps.
too?
Yes. And try not to
And
get this, not getting frustrated with myself over that is a thing too.
and
Yeah.
how do you navigate yourself through such moments?
Um, by being the observer. So kind of not being lost within the moment as far as recognizing or identifying that I'm in that out of God's space and observing that. And then I've learnt different skills and techniques to bring myself back into that space, usually mostly with breath or simply being able to create a kind of I am presence within me by going inward. Um, Depending on the situation, sometimes if I'm too far out of it, it takes a little bit more effort to realign. But
Mhm.
after a fair bit of practice, as I've had now doing this, it's easier to be the observer and then to be able to bring myself back into alignment before I've created too much disturbance outwards from the misalignment. So before I've become too frustrated or too angry or too whatever, I can observe my out of line sort of state and become aware of it or allow the emotion of it. Get off my case. I used to get on my case a lot and kind of judge myself, I guess. Um,
Mm.
Coming back into the present's a good one, or gratitude. There's lots of different techniques I think I've just trained myself in to come back to it. But yeah, I still obviously live out of it. In fact, the last little while I've had um quite a journey in attempting to balance these aspects of myself because I've felt very much sort of I've struggled a lot with being within my human reality and staying within that place of presentness in the now. Um, because there's a lot of things I feel in my world around me that sort of attempt to pull me out of it. And part of my problem, I think, was disconnecting with my humanness in a sense, because um, I'd get frustrated with myself in that space. But I'm learning to bridge them and merge these two aspects of self, well, these multiple dimensional aspects of self, and yeah, be learning to be sort of present in the now in whatever spaces, because I am in a human experience, and so it's okay to feel some of those human frustrations and not to always expect myself to be in a state of blissful awareness and awake, kind of, you know, completeness. Yeah, still struggling with it. The forgetful state, as you called it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And this merging the humanness
Mm.
into the divine and divine into the humanness.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, isn't it? Because it's all part of, it's all one. So the physicality, this is another aspect too. Um, I guess it's just programming. It's coming out of the programming. It's not really the physicality, nor it's all the humanness, because that is divinity.
Mm.
It's more the mental programming that creates the disconnection, really. So it's about awareness of that too, I think, and trying to keep into a state of acceptance or allowance. Mm.
Do you have any idea what's the purpose of this programming? What's
Uh,
the purpose in the programming?
yeah, I suppose. On what level? I mean, there's a lot of purpose, I guess, if in the programming of the social conditioning of society, but and why that creates or disconnects us from ourselves or disconnects us from the awareness or the remembrance of our God self. Um, but as from an individual level, I guess are you asking about it on the level of coming into a human form and not being consciously aware or remembrance from as you grow up and having to relearn it in order to experience this humanity in a sense? Or you're talking on the bigger scale about
On any scale, on every scale you choose.
okay.
Yeah, in relation to you,
Because
where you are here now.
well, I guess it's because there's a journey and there's a learning and there's an awareness that comes about through the process of remembering. So without the programming to have created the disconnection and the disassociation or the unremembering, the forgetting, there's a process in the remembering that I guess the theory, I suppose, is I'm questioning all theories of late that I've previously come to. But the theory, I guess, is in experiencing being a human, experiencing coming here. And okay, I have to say this from my own personal perspective as someone who I've realized has come here for a specific purpose. And that specific purpose is not necessarily to experience the Earth School as people go on about, oh, we came here to learn these lessons, to experience this density of humanity and to learn stuff. Okay, I acknowledge there's probably lots of people that have come here to do that. I've discovered that I'm not one of these people because I've already done this kind of thing and I didn't come here this time to experience Earth School, to learn stuff. I may have come, yes, to assist in creating or to assist in breaking and clearing karmic cycles and ancestral stuff and stuff like that, because I've done a lot of work in that area with ancestors and stuff and realized that I've cleared a lot for generational stuff that is clearing future generational stuff too. So there's something to do with elevating or alleviating frequency and density through humanity in that sense. But I came here specifically to assist with the ascension process that is happening. I came here to elevate humanity, elevate consciousness. And as part of that, I guess that the reason I had forgotten and I've had to go through this process of remembering, which has been quite traumatic and painful through much of my human existence, is in order to be in the place where I am now, where I can have such a vast array of understanding of the human condition, where I can connect, relate, and work with so many different people on so many different levels so that I can do the job I came here to do, which is to help the consciousness rising that is happening. So maybe that's why I had to forget. And I've already forgotten what the question was, but I think it was something about the programming.
And
Yes.
the ascension, the ascension process, the ascension that you've mentioned. How do you see? Like, what is it about? What's the process we are collectively and individually in now? Which is, I understand is the kind of context, the time space sphere dimension reality within which you are elevating the frequency. What's the context? What is it about?
It's about, see, it's difficult to use words that don't have loaded meanings sometimes. So bear with me, I'm going to attempt to explain this in a way that the best way I can. So to me anyway, the ascension, everything is frequency. Everything that we perceive to be reality is only frequency. So changing the frequency, changing the vibration at which this dimension functions at we'll change the programming and the structure and the everything that is the reality into whatever it is that we collectively reprogram it into. And we do that through frequency. We do it as a collective through elevating the frequency within ourselves. So the ascension process to me is the expanding consciousness, freedoming, and breaking away from the limitations and the things that are based on separation and competition and conditioning, and expanding into the awareness of the remembrance of the God self, the remembrance of the self within that is God instead of the external God, the remembrance of the creator aspect of who we are, who we am. So becoming and allowing the fullness of that God self within is the ascension process. And I think it's through all of us collectively doing this, or enough of us collectively doing this, to create a shift in vibrational frequency of reality in order to elevate it into a different dimensional state of being. So I think all the different possibilities, I'm a very big believer in the whole multiverse and the existence of lots of different, like radio stations. There's heaps of radio stations that are all invisibly transmitting through the airwaves, but we tune into a particular radio station and that's the one we hear. So it's almost like reattuning ourselves and the world we're creating in our own reality and collectively to a higher frequency or a different station, so that it's not one based on the limiting aspects of the matrix that's the previous one. I was going to say that's here now, but I feel like I'm already shifting from it, but into a different one. And my words making sense in this sense? Because I know the words are difficult to use, but
Yeah, sure. And what's the different one? I mean, I wonder what's the transition into? Like,
whatever
what's the
we
quality of the different? What are the qualities of the different?
Okay, well, it's whatever we all collectively create, but I'm feeling that it's cooperation, freedom, um, all those things that kind of higher consciousness is or stands for, those that, as they call it, the Christ consciousness, in that sense of
Mm.
harmony, joy, love, co-creative space, and that's working with each other, with nature, with this understanding of the reverence of all life as being God, and therefore we don't harm others because we're harming ourselves, or it's that kind of existence rather than competitive and destructive. So, and based on, we don't have to learn through suffering, we can learn through joy, through experience.
And from the very different, whichever state you choose to be, to experience, to embody, as you say, to embody. From there, how do you relate to the competitive, to the other? Because it's still there, just as you mentioned the radio station, you're tuned into the different,
Yes.
and the others are still there.
How do I
I
relate
wonder
to
about
it?
the dynamics of this.
Yeah, well, this is part of that, what I was trying to explain before, of the confusion and what I'm still learning, and in the forgetfulness, because I feel, when I was saying about feeling as though I get pulled into these out of present states by the reality around me, that's actually what it is. It's feeling that I've struggled probably most of this year with feeling like I'm living between worlds, and sometimes in this world that is still that is here, and sometimes within the old world, and in lots of places in between. And it's not been easy to be in those multiple dimensional states, but I've navigated my way through it, I guess, through continuing to go inward and continuing to continuing to trust and allow, or what's the word, surrender to the process and surrender to my divine self, and to continually bring myself back into that state of observance and that state of not allowing myself to get too caught in the old world, in a sense, like to be in it but not of it, and to stay within as much as possible within that state of being within myself, even though I'm amongst it. To attempt, and I'm doing a pretty good job of, I think, to love others through it, even though they are in a different state of being or attempting to draw me back into the world that they're aligning with. To love them through that, to allow them in that process, because everybody's making their own choice and everybody has their own journey, and sort of being the bridge for them by being the bridge myself, in a sense. So just kind of bringing it back to me and how I can continue to have my frequency at a point that is not pulling me back into it, that I'm still moving forward and I'm still co-creating in this space of where I'm heading towards or aligning to, and not getting too caught in the heaviness of the old, not getting too stuck in the in-between states, you know, or the impatience of not completely there yet in the other, because I have a little bit of a tendency to have a big vision, and once I envision it, I can get quite impatient about not being able to just boom, let's do it, let's be there. So there's been a lot of attempting to be patient with myself and also patient with other people, and that's come through this kind of higher heart love space and allowance. Yeah.
And this process of elevating your frequency, how do you kind of, from where you are, from the quality that you choose to be in, to embody, to experience, how do you elevate others? Do you elevate others?
Yeah.
Like, how is this purpose of yours, elevating the frequency, elevating your frequency, how is it manifesting?
Mm.
How are you actualizing
Yeah.
the reason?
Yes. Okay. Good question again. Jeez. I need to get you to run this whole podcast. I think you can just ask everybody all the questions. Okay. Well, I guess this is quite simple, but also complex in that I've gone through a complex process in becoming clearer on this in myself. How do I do this with others? In an external sense, I try and do things like this. I create stuff that hopefully can help people have a greater awareness or expand their awareness or their understanding of things, expand their consciousness about all sorts of range of stuff that is. I see you're frozen. I'm going to kind of wait till you come back. We have storms outside that affect my internet. And so Aleksandra is in Poland. I'm not sure her internet's much better than mine. Hey, I paused, so you didn't miss too much of what I was saying.
Okay, yes, but I actually didn't could not understand from just after I asked the question.
Yeah.
Like what you
Okay.
were saying.
Yeah. So I wanted to answer this question in two aspects, because there's the external.
It's going on, huh? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
There's the external attempts to elevate you frequency or elevate the frequency in others through doing things like this podcast, so that I can attempt to expand people's awareness of things they mightn't be ordinarily aware of, to answer their questions about some of the things that they mightn't have understood before, or that might give them a broader view on stuff, or allow them to have tips, tools, techniques to be able to rise their own frequency. And that's why I wanted to interview people who are on this kind of mission as well, at how they go about doing it, so that people who don't know or who don't understand some of this stuff can have a broader perspective, or a pathway perhaps for them to help open up into that kind of area. Also, this is why I do the stuff I do in service work, with helping people to break down their trauma patterns or break down their programming, helping them to liberate through the programs and the classes and stuff that I teach, so that I can hopefully get people to experience or imperience what it feels like to be free from the programming, and to expand their own consciousness. So that's what I do externally, as well as talk with people, connect with people, and give people permission, in a sense. If I bring it back into me, though, doing it's mostly internal. So continuing to elevate my own frequency affects the vibrational energy that I have and that I emit, and therefore anyone I'm around will receive that. So they're going to be feeling that and being affected by that, whether we're all conscious of it or not, in that frequency state. And also, by allowing myself to go through my process and share my process with others, it kind of helps them in a way to be inspired, and to kind of give themselves permission to do stuff where they maybe are holding back, or they're fearful, or they're not, liberating in a way. So the more I share my own journey of liberation and elevation, the more it sort of inspires others. But mostly I've discovered it's through the self. And the more that I get into this process, the more that I wonder about, is there kind of any other point than to just elevate the self and then just sit in a being state with as many people as possible? As we do, we sit and be, and like, what elevation is that like? So, I'm just trying to figure out, still in this transitional state between worlds, how I pay my bills by just sitting and being with people in elevated states of consciousness. So
Pay themselves.
yeah. Yeah.
They pay themselves as you sit and elevate your frequency, and as we be
Yes.
themselves.
So yeah.
Mm.
Hmm. Hmm.